Hello, I'm IkuRTT and today I will be talking about the Turtles in the TMNT multiverse. Other than the basic 4 because I have already dedicated a separate video for them. And in the TMNT multiverse there are many turtles. I will go thematically. First, Turtles, then temporary turtles, then non-anthropomorphic giant turtles, then people pretending to be turtles, and finally some robots. So let's get started. We start with Slash. He made his debut in the 1987 TV series in Season 4, Episode 18, Slash, the Evil Turtle from Dimension X. In this version, he's obsessed with the plastic palm tree and doesn't have a typical band, a fabric one, but a metal one. This incarnation of Slash also appears in 4 games. Another version appears in the 2012 TV series. First, we meet him as Spike, Ralph's pet turtle. We see him for the first time in the second episode, Rise of the Turtles Part 2. He then recruits here and there in many episodes until he finally mutated into a Slash a season later. In the 2013 is 7th episode of the second season, Slash and Destroy. Slash from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Amazing Adventure series is also based on this version. The earlier story is the same, but the comics follow their own path. He starts in Amazing Adventure issue 3 in 2015. He similarly appears in the series published by Panini. For the first time in The Freak Seeker issue 54, Easter egg. In the Taken comic book published in issue 4, we can see Spike wearing a tiny red bandana. Also in New Animated Adventure issue 4, released in 2013, Raphael is hit by poison dart and has hallucination. In a scene referring to Alice in Wonderland, he sees Spike talking and pouring tea. And in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Amazing Adventure, Robot Animals 1 and 2, released in 2017, a robotic version appears. Slash is inside but has no control over the super skin robot that controls him. The IDW Comic Universe Hasbro has several versions. The main one debuted in 2012 in TMNT microseries April. In issue 98, City at War Part 6 from 2019, its clones appear. In the Hunter issue we have a scene suggesting that one of the clones has the memories of the original Slash. In TMNT Revelations, published in 2016, we have a version basically consistent with the main one, but the comic itself is non-canonical in the What If style, so it can be counted separately. An equally alternative version appears in issue 23 of the main series from 2013, where as part of Leo's brainwashing, he kills Slash in his head. And yet another variation appears in 2022, TMNT 131, where Mikey has a nightmare, seeing Slash and the children asking him why he left them, the fears of his subconsciousness. The game version also appears in the game TMNT Mutants in Manhattan, based on the IDW universe. Slash doesn't appear in the 2014 Michael Bay film, but he does appear in the 3DS game based on Turtles from that film, called just simply TMNT, as a boss in one stage. In 2033, the comic book Mighty Morphin Power Rangers /TMNT 2 issue 2 was released, in which Slash also appears. The second quite famous turtle with a lot of incarnation is Tokka. By the way, he is very similar to Slash. He makes his debut in the second live-action film, Saga of the Ooze, in 1991 with Raxa. They both have very chill-like personalities and consider S.H.E.L.D.O.N to be their mother. After all, they are very new conscious, non-animal beings. This version, of course, also appears in the comic book adaptation of the film. Tokka also appears in the 1987 TV series in episode 11 of season 7, Dirk Savage, Mutant Hunter, released in 1993, and in some of the games released with the incarnation of the characters known for this series. Tokka's next appearance is the 2009 film Turtles Forever. Next is the 2012 TV series, episode 13 of season 4, The Ever-Burning Fire. This is probably the most distinctive approach. It looks as if a lot of Gamera mix was added to the typical Tokka mix because it is a kaiju-sized beast. And if it weren't for her name, she would definitely be described here as a separate character. A cheat named Chompy Picasso also appears, but more on that in a moment. First, another incarnation of Tokka. Specifically, it's from IDW Comics, where it's debuted in issue 111, released in 2020. And the theme of cheathood and considering someone as a mother returned, this time is was Karai. In issue 113, in one scene, we can see an alternative version from the future that Lita describes. There is also a Tokka in Las Tortugas Ninja Mexican comic series. Coming back, Chompy Picasso is a little turtle-like creature, Tokka's baby. It appears in episode with Tokka and then stays in the series and accompanies Raph. This version also appears in the future version where it is much larger and in the comic book version of TMNT Amazing Adventures. In 1986 we got a second TMNT and other Strangeness supplement set in the post-apocalyptic after the bomb future, titled Rat Hogs. There, in the comic book, an elderly Raphael appears and has 3 unnamed turtles under his care, so what, plus 3. 1990 is the 9th episode of the 4th season of the 1987 series Planet of the Turtles. A whole bunch of characters show up. Announcer, salesman guy Rappert has a big role, Dr. Turtlestein also shows up a bit, the flying turtlenecker brothers Hans and Fritz have large roles, and interestingly they have removable shells that can be grown back. The other turtle wrestlers, Ratting Randy and Will Willy, make very brief appearances. The entire planet that Donnie visits has a turtle-like atmosphere. The roofs of buildings and the flying taxi are stylized as turtle shells. Sticking with the show, the 5th season block as Turtleoids. Episode 21 and 22 of this season, released in 1991, are titled Planet of the Turtleoids Part 1 and Planet of the Turtleoids Part 2. Released in 1992, episode 6 of season 6 is titled Return of the Turtleoid. Published in 1993, episode 8 of season 7 is titled Escape from the Planet of Turtleoids. The planet name is Shell-Rilla. In our episode there is Kerma. In the second there are also named characters Dwork and Borg. Besides them you can also see a lot of no-named Turtleoids. In the episode Escape from the Planet of the Turtleoids, at the beginning the Turtles also watch Invasion of the Space Turtles where they are surprised. The Space Turtles. In the last episode with them, they are also turtle-shaped robots. Planet of the Turtleoids Part 2 ends with turtles turning on TV when there is a movie, Planet of the Giant Turtles. In 1993 broadcast the Maltese Turtle, in which the turtle Maltese Turtle appears. Venus de Milo from the next Mutation, published in 1997, is one of more famous, or maybe should I say infamous, characters. She is the only turtle that shares origin with the main 4. There were 5 turtles in the fishbowl after falling into the sewers. 5 were exposed to the Mutation, but Splinter missed one, he only collected 4. She ended up in the sewers under Chinatown where Chang Ai, her master, found her. Peter Late chronically hates this idea and explanation, and I also find it rather stupid. But hey, turtle is a turtle. In episode 17, Mutant Reflection, released in 1998, the topic of turtle cloning appears. All 5 of them are cloned, including Venus. Speaking of the Turtle Sisters, an interesting fact is an unnamed character called Big Mama's assistant. He appears for the first time in the 1st episode of the 2nd season of Rise of the TMNT, Many Unhappy Returns, and basically she is just there. I would never consider her a turtle, but from the creator's statement about further plans we know that she was to turn out to be one of the missing Turtle Sisters. Ergo, not only she is a turtle, but very important turtle. However, the series did not go beyond the 2nd season, and the plans for it concerned the 3rd one, so it's just an Easter egg. In 2007 we got issue 32 of Tales of TMNT Volume 2 titled The Eye of Agamotto, in which the turtle character Tsou-T'an-Jin appears, a tortoise sorcerer resident of Mu Mesa. This is a typical one-time turtle character, but in the 1st issue of Raphael Bad Moon Rising there is a mention of him. Lulu asks Raphael if he is related to him. The Turtle Master is a parody of Splinter TMNT because he has 4 rats in bandanas under his care. In the version in the 2003 TV series, all 4 of them are purple. In the game TMNT 2 Battle Nexus, they have different colored bandanas, like the TMNT. We see him in the 5th episode in the 2nd season, Turtles in Space Part 1. The Fujinoid is basically a cameo role, but the game was released in 2004, and there the rats he trains are opponents of the Turtles. He and Splinter watch the fight. The 19th episode of the 4th season of the series from 2012, titled Bat in the Belfry, and released in 2016, broadcast the character Tortoise-Man. Whether he is a human pretending to be a turtle, an anthropomorphic turtle, or a hybrid is not entirely clear, so we place him among the turtles, but maybe he should be among the people, I don't know. In 1919 we got one of the non-canon issues of Volume 1 from Mirage, 34, Toitle Anxiety, in which Mafia member Joey, after contact with turtles, goes crazy and starts seeing humanoid turtles everywhere. Jennika firstly appears as a human in the IDW Comics, a member of the Foot Clan, and eventually the right hand of the head of the Foot Clan. But when she was injured in issue 95, City at War Part 3, released in 2019, to save her life she receives a blood transfusion from Leo, which caused her to mutate into a turtle. She becomes the 5th turtle, a permanent member of the TMNT team with a yellow as her color. In total, in addition to the main incarnation, we meet 2 potential ones, in Lita's future and Lita's alternative future, and one version in the non-canon TMNT vs Street Fighter crossover. And in TMNT Jennika 2 issue 3, there is a meme about her. In 2023, in the TMNT 143, disordered, warped version of the basic Turtles, as well as other characters such as Jennika and Venus, which we will mention shortly, appears in vision. First, the already mentioned Lita. She debuts in 101, then we see her again in 103. When asked for her name in 104, she says she doesn't have one, so Jennika suggests Lita, and it stays that way. This character appears in many issues. As a child, she is one of the background characters. In 105 from 2020, we meet her future adult version, but without any details, and in 113, she returns for several issues as a main character. In issue 117, as part of one of the alternative futures, we also see a turtle figure with a bow. From the picture with the concept shared by the author on Twitter, we know that her name is Artemisia. A turtle named Kirby was also created as part of the same concept sketch, but has not been used yet. This is the second non-arrival of the turtle version of Kirby. The first one, which the author admits that she deliberately alluded to, was the concept of a turtle that was to appear in the 90s in a fourth live action film, but as we know, it ended up at the third one. Issue 127 brings us a scene very like from Alien Resurrection, when Alopex finds a room full of turtles in jars, Dr. Bellow's experiments. This is when we also see Venus for the first time, also a subject of experiment. She started out as one of the punk frogs, but as a result of his actions, she has a much more turtle appearance. In 2023, TMNT ongoing 143, distorted warped version of the basic Turtles as well as other characters such as Venus appears in vision. Also in 2030, in TMNT The Armageddon game The Alliance issue 4, we see her future version. In the 41 issue of Volume 1 from Mirage, published in 1991, titled Turtle Dreams, the characters, well, dreams. In the recording about him, the incarnation, we mentioned Donnie's dream, but here we must mention Leonardo's dream, in which he attends a school full of other turtles. In 2002, we got a comic from Mirage, Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 7, Volume 4, in which we can see the Super Turtles, alternate dimension variant of the 4 TMNT. Graviturtle is Leo, Shelectro is Dolly, Griddex is Raph, and Bloodboy is Mikey. In 2005, we got Season 3, Episode 19, a reality check of the 2003 TV series, where the another version of Super Turtles again appears. In the 12th episode of the 6th season of the 4-Kids series, titled Bad Blood, reset in 2006, current version of 4 TMNT appears. They are known as Dark Turtles. In the 2nd episode of the 5th season of the series from 2003, titled Demons and Dragons, demons known as Kappa Denju make their debut. Kappa is a type of Japanese demon, often with a turtle-like appearance, and mentioned creatures are exactly like that. They appear in 4 episodes of this season and in 2 games, TMNT Ninja Tribunal and TMNT The Shredder Reborn. In the episode Bishop's Gambit, the 24th episode of the 3rd season of the 2003 TV series, released in 2005, creatures created by John Bishop, known as Slayers, appears. They are based on various DNA that Bishop obtained through genetic manipulation, alien autopsies, including DNA from turtles. We meet only one Slayer, a prototype version that will later return in the series as this universe version of Rat King. A digital image of a turtle from the internet, made semi-organic and corrupted by Cyber Shredder, appears in the 8th episode of Season 7, the 2003 TV series Web Wranglers. In 2012, Sun Comics published by IDW had a comic strip by Fred Hembeck. It's a very short 2 images only, but it shows Picasso the turtle, wanting to join the TMNT. Warhol is also mentioned. This is a humorous comic strip, and of course it is not an official part of any of the TMNT multiverses, but you can read it, among others, in the official TMNT comic, so worth mentioning as an Easter egg. In the 5th issue of the TMNT Usagi Yojimbo, When, published in 2023, Kappa appears, a creature from Japanese mythology with a very turtle appearance. 4 TMNTs are also mistaken for Kappas. In the comic book The Ripening, published in Tales of TMNT Volume 2, Issue 20 in 2006, the Turtles encounter an artifact that creates vision consistent with what they desire, which sends Mikey to a city full of humanoid turtles. In TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures Issue 3, published in 2023, the Turtles go to Turtlantis, a turtle version of Atlantis, where you can see a lot of turtle symbols, statues, etc. although there are no new Turtles there, apart from the Made 4 only Slash appeared, but overall I thought this was a place worth mentioning. The comic book Twilight of the Ring, issue 37 volume 1 from Mirage, published in 1991, shows in one frame Turtles as humanoid beings in the form of what if it were not mammals that had evolved into a dominant humanoid form but it reptile do it. In the game TMNT 3, Mutant Nightmare, reset in 2005, there are two turtle creatures with a turtle-like appearance. Our hero, and being a slight modification of him, Tostegaron, which appears only in Mikey's Nightmare levels. The newest turtles we got are the Warp Turtles. And I mean it when I say newest. This recording was published on April 28, and they appeared for the first time in the 150th issue of the IDW series, reset on April 24. We learned there that Donatello used the Warp Crystal to create a whole range of turtle creatures, but only when he also added Q&A, an important factor in the IDW version of the TMNT universe. His creation remained permanent and not disappear after a few days. He created three beings, Roy, Max and Priest, named after the androids from Do Android Dream of Electric Sheep? So that's all about Turtles. Now time for people and other creatures that were Turtles only temporary. In 1994 we got TMNT Adventure Special Issue 11 where April mutates into a turtle, making her the first female turtle, a few years before Venus the Milo appeared. In the Halloween-themed Trick or Treat Turtle April appears dressed as a ninja turtle. In issue 13 of Panini's TMNT magazine, in the story April in Half Shell, Donnie created a turtle shell for April, which however limited her too much instead of helping her. TMNT Micro Series 7 April from IDW begins with April's dream in which she is a turtle. Large is an amorphous alien blob and an alien vanguard. He appears in TMNT 12, reset in 1997. He transforms into a female mutant turtle and kisses Michelangelo. In the movie Turtles Forever, one of the characters, Hun, mutates into a turtle. This is the last appearance of this character. We don't know if he demutated later or what, but since this character himself starts as a human and appears primarily in this incarnation, we describe him with other humans. Another group of people that should be mentioned is the Gang of Four. They are human cyborgs with the ability to mutate into a wolf at selected moment, and as such we meet them in the comic book The Jersey Devil, a story from issue 11 of the TMNT universe published in 2017. They also appear in the comic book Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Free Comic Book Day 2022 and subsequent IDW issues. This new appearance is relevant to this recording as they gain the ability to mutate into a counterfeit version of TMNT. So plus for turtle creatures. They mutate and demutate on demand, so we put them among the temporary mutants. Now it's time for the next category, people. Terrible Turtle is a character from the 87 TV series. He appears in the season 3 episode 2, Turtles on Trial, from 1989. He's a professional wrestler. His ring name comes from the fact that he wears a turtle costume. The 8th episode of the 6th season of the series from 2003, reset in 2006 Clash of the Turtle Titans, bring us the character Turtle Titan 2, a superhero living in 2105. He's based on the first Turtle Titan, which was Mikey. 2 is a human, so he ends up among people who adopt Turtle alter ego. The game Super Brawl 3 Good vs Evil was reset in 2013. We have 4 basic turtles as playable characters. The game has a mechanic that allows us to choose a fan to support us. Each turtle has 2, male and female, and they have appropriate outfits, so they can be considered as 8 human characters dressing up as turtles. Raphael fans are Ruby and Amaro, Donatello's Avril and Ved, Michelangelo's are Kat and Gio, and Leonardo's are Fallon and Ryan. That's a bit of a stretch because they're definitely not people, but in the comic book TMNT Ghostbusters 2, published in 2017, there are characters of the Collectors, demons who are able to find and destroy any creature. They are hired to capture turtles, and as part of their quest, they take on a form that resembles them, so temporary turtles. Turtle Maniac is the 7th episode of the 4th season of TMNT from 1987, premiered in 1919, and features Monroe Kuflim, the Turtle Maniac, who at first seems to be fan of the TMNT, but later it turns out to be even more than that. He wants to turn real turtles into wax figures as the culmination of his collection. He also had a pet turtle named Rosebud. This is not a typical example, because he's not pretending to be a turtle, but I think he is worth mentioning. And the first episode of the 2nd season of the series from 1987, titled Return version of the Shredder, is set in 1988, contains the Crooked Ninja Turtle gang. A man named Smash runs a dojo which is taken over by Shredder, and he orders his new subordinates to perform various crimes. In addition to material benefits, Shredder also wants to harm the TMNT, so he orders criminals to wear turtle costumes. So we have a number of people dressing up as turtles, and what is unique is that here they do not do it on their own initiative. This character also appears in the TMNT Adventures issue published in 1989, adapting the episode in which they debuted. We also get a figure of one of them by NECA. In the 12th episode of TMNT 87 Season 6, titled Leonardo is Missing, is set in 1992, Bebop gets a temporary holographic disguise and impersonates Leonardo. In the first issue of Batman TMNT Adventures, is set in 2016, titled The Face of Two Worlds, and Clayface, a shape-shifting character from the Batman universe, briefly takes on the form of Michelangelo. So we must mention him. Timothy is the name of a man who is the fan of the Ninja Turtles. He disguised himself as one and used the nickname The Pulverizer. First time appeared in episode 16 of the first series, is set in 2013, titled The Pulverizer. He's explaining that he started fighting Ninja Turtles and wanted to be like them, but he thought they were also a people in disguises. In episode 23 of the first season, The Pulverizer returns. He mutates into the completely non-turtle Mutation. This character also appears in the game TMNT Legends. In the 8th episode of the third season of the 87 series, titled The Five Turtle, we had the debut of Zack, a young kid who wants to be like the Turtles. So he disguises himself as the titular Five Turtle, one of the characters that had more than a one-time appearance. Episode with themes are The Five Turtle, The Great Boldini, The Missing Map, Shredder Wheel, Bebop and Rocksteady Conquer the Universe, Zack and the Alien Invaders, and Night of the Rogues. In the comic book Garfield meets the TMNT, published in TMNT magazine in winter 1992, Garfield and Odie dress up as turtles. In the game TMNT Smash-Up, released in 2009, Rabbit appears dressed as a Ninja Turtle. He has mock turtle gear, a toilet seat shell, and uses kitchen utensils as weapons. In 2016, in The Frogs of War, Part 1, in the first story in Amazing Adventures 9, Splinter is angry at the turtles for allowing themselves to be seen and shows a newspaper with their likeness. It's basically a frog, not a turtle, but Splinter initially thinks it's one of turtles, so we mention it. In episode 18 of the 4th season of the 87 series, Sash, the evil turtle from Dimension X, which we already mentioned as the place of Sash debut, 4 people appears in Ninja Turtle costumes. They are hired by Phantom Q Hackenbrush to commit crimes and destroy the good name of true turtles. Now time for some non-humanoid giant turtles. The Great Turtle is a huge, semi-mystical turtle that appears first in the story Donatello, The Ring, published in Turtles of Volume 2, Issue 1 from 1991. Then also in the direct continuation of this story, Twilight of the Ring, published in Volume 1, Issue 67 from Mirage. Terrorpin is a giant turtle that appears in TMNT Volume 2 from Mirage, Issue 4, Intruders, and Issue 5, Death Race, both released in 1994. He is a protector/companion for the entity known as Rihanna. She appears in Tales of the TMNT Volume 2, Issue 20, The Cure, released in 2006, when she is again accompanied by a turtle that is much larger than the standard size, but much smaller than Terrorpin. Raphael Snapper is a short story appearing in Turtles of Volume 2, Issue 2, published in 1991. It features a pet snapping turtle that Appy found in an alley. We generally don't describe ordinary turtles, but he is worth mentioning here because in the comic book, an overeaten Raphael falls asleep and has dreams about a giant version of Snapper. In the 2005, you get story Devil Hall in 18th issue of Tales of the TMT Volume 2. There are a lot of turtles there, basically normal, but not quite. There are turtles on the cover and on the introductory page. Then we see ordinary sea turtle under the water. Then a large turtle, much larger than Donatello, helps him and Ultron Glurim in returning to the surface. It also turns out that the surface itself is also a turtle, a really huge one, you can say kaiju-sized. A Bull Wrinkle in Time is issue 21 of Tales of the TMNT Volume 2, published in March 2006. At the beginning, Joss Ray talks about the Great Turtle, and at the end of the comic, influenced by his encounter with the TMNT, he talks about 4 of them. The Howling of Distant Shadows is issue 15 of TMNT Adventures, published in October 1919 by IDW Comics. The Koipaku tribe appears in this comic, about which Jaguar says that they believe that the world is an island born on the back of the Great Turtle. We also see a sculpture intended to symbolize him. Fight the Power is issue 17 of TMNT Adventures, published in February 1991 by Archie Comics. There are some regular turtles appearing on the cover, and towards the end, one oversized sea turtle appears. Once Again Always is issue 61 of TMNT Adventures, published in October 1994 by Archie Comics. There is a story about the creation of the world. We can see the Turtle Island. In 1990, in one of the comic strips, there was a mention of myths related to the worlds of turtles. The Great Turtle of North American Indian beliefs and the 4 elephants standing on Giant Turtle of Indians. In TMNT Presents, Donatello and Leatherhead 2 found One Lost World from 1993, a large turtle appears, S.H.E.L.L.D.O.N. Finally, the last part, robots. Metalhead is the most famous, debuting in the 35th episode of the third season of the 1987 TV series titled The Making of Metalhead. It was designed by the bad guys and programmed with the fighting style of all the turtles. It was supposed to be the ultimate weapon against them, and it was quite effective, but you know how it is. The turtles win. He appeared in only 2 episodes, already mentioned one, and in episode 37 of season 4, Big Bug Blunder. This version appears in TMNT Turtles in Time. In the 2012 TV series, he made his debut that same year in the 6th episode of the 5th season, simply titled Metalhead. This version was created by Donatello. Here he is primarily a remotely operated robot. He doesn't show much personality or independence until his last episode, Metalhead Rewired, aired in 2014. Staying in the same series, in the 11th episode of the 4th season titled The Wasteland Warrior, we go to the future where Donbot operates. It is Donatello whose personality was transferred to Metalhead as a result of an accident. So the robot was rebooted in this timeline and again, it's not an independent machine, but this time a body for Donnie. In the 2016 comic book TMNT Amazing Adventure issue 9, titled Mini Metalhead, the title Mini Metalhead appears. And the 2012 TV series version also appears in games such as 2016 TMNT Legends, Pizza Quest, and Rex the Aguirre. I have no
Squirtle.
how I should say it. Metalhead definitely has the most extensive story in the IDW Comics. He makes his debut in the 34 issue titled Monster, Misfits, and Madmen Part 2, published in 2014, where in theory he should be a robot listing the commands, but he acts maybe not consciously, but independently. Later he becomes the body in which Donatello lives. When he returns to his turtle body, a copy of his personality remains in Metalhead and takes control, quickly becoming evil. He also changed his body from the typical Metalhead to a much larger version, and this version cooperates with various turtle opponents such as Bishop and Krang. For the second one, he even becoming the robot in which he transported himself. And in Inside Out Part 4, published in 2016 as part of the 4th issue of the TMNT Universe series, a Metalhead trying to kill Leo on Harold orders appears as Vision or something like that. A normal-sized version of Metalhead can be also seen in the 2nd issue of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TMNT, released in 2020. Well, in the 5th issue, there is a huge version that connects with the Power Rangers Zord after a few pages, and together they constitute the Turtle Megazord. The giant Metalhead is also in the 2nd volume, and he also eventually merged with another Zord, this time with the Dragon Zord, and together they form the Dragon Turtle Zord. I love these names. We already mentioned this, but maybe someone only watched the robot-related part. So, in published in 1993, episode 8 of season 7 of 87 TV series, titled Escape from the Planet of the Turtleoids, you can see the turtle-shaped robots, created by Kerma, one of Turtleoid. In the 13th episode of the 7th season of the 87 series, titled Combat Land, 2 robot versions of Turtles are created by Horatio Stressball and Denton Nucleat. They are based on Leonardo and Michelangelo. In Men of Shadow, issue 29 of the series from Mirage, Donatello creates a turtle bot for turtle combat training. Each mech, Don controls it. In the 12th episode of the 2nd season of the 2003 series, titled What a Crock, Turtlebot appears. It's a robot created by Stockman who taught this machine how to fight, so they were unable to defeat him. But they changed their weapons, becoming unpredictable and therefore able to win. Turtlebot also appears in TMNT 2003 video game. It's also available in the GBA version of TMNT Battle Nexus and TMNT Mutant Melee. And T4, also known as the Turtonator, was to be the main team of Dreamwave 8, 9 and 10 issues, but the series was cancelled before that. Some sketches and info about them can be found in the collected volume TMNT Out of the Shadow. Turtle Mech is the mech that Donnie designed in 2012 series in episode 21 of season 2, Plan 10. He didn't have the energy to use it. It was finally created in the Invasion, Part 1. TMNT Legends features such enemies as S.H.E.L.L.D.O.N and Mecha-Droids. S.H.E.L.L.D.O.Ids are crank droids painted to look like a Ninja Turtles. Mecha-Droids consist of metal head-like head implanted on a biodroid. TMNT Tsou-9 from Volume 4, released in 2003, is the debut of Nano Turtlebots. These Turtle-style nanobots are injected into API to fight Baxter Stockman's nanobots. The Turtles are connected to them with their minds to support them with their experience, which we see in issue 10. They returns in the comic book Heroes in a Half Cell, issue 68 of Tales of the TMNT Volume 2 from 2010. Tiny Robot Turtles appears in the game TMNT Shadow Heroes. In the first game, TMNT, is set in 1989. At some point, we have to face the Mecha-Turtle. The fight has two stages. In the first one, he only has a sword, then he flies on a jetpack and also shoots rockets. Smart There is the 25th episode of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It first aired on February 9, 2019. S.H.E.L.L.D.O.N is a robot equipped with AI created by Donnie as his helper. He appears in a few episodes. In the fourth chapter, Mutant Turtles Gaiden series, published also as one collective volume, created by Hiroshi Kanno, you have the Crooked Ninja Turtle Gang. In other sources, they were dressed up humans, as we mentioned in the earlier part, but here they are robots, Mecha-Turtles. That's all, thanks for watching. If I like and subscribe if you like it, check out some other TMNT or Turtle related videos on my channel, and I hope to see you again in another video. Bye!